Every year, more than 100 oil and gas platforms are removed from the Gulf of Mexico, with 1,000 predicted to be removed in the next decade. However, a few platforms will remain as artificial reefs.
Artificial reefs are structures placed in marine waters to function as habitat. They can be made of various durable and stable materials, such as oil and gas rigs, as well as ships. Once colonized by marine organisms, these structures teem with life, making great fishing and diving spots, as well as supporting coastal economies.
For example, the Texas Clipper is a ship reef that is located off South Padre Island. This artificial reef is responsible for reducing the human use pressure on the Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary, as well as generating close to $3 million annually for the local economy from anglers and divers.
17 states have artificial reef programs, including all 5 Gulf states. These artificial reefs are especially important to the Gulf ecosystem because hard substrate is a rare resource, located in only a few places along the muddy, sandy bottom.
As far as offshore, when you break the jetties, all of us travel over miles and miles and miles of sand, featureless sand.
Materials converted to artificial reefs are serving as artificial hard substrate, where small organisms like barnacles, corals, sponges, and clams can attach and grow. These organisms are crucial for forming the base of complex marine food webs. Many larger organisms, such as this red snapper, feed on them. The presence of artificial reefs in the Gulf of Mexico has led to an increase in biodiversity because they allow for the formation of reef communities.
These reef organisms are recruited to the Gulf during early life history stages by being transported by the Gulf Loop current, which flows from the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef along the Yucatan up into the Gulf and back out up the Atlantic. Many eddies spin off the loop current, transporting reef organisms further into the Gulf. These reef species are then able to colonize the artificial reefs. The Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary also serves as a source of organisms for artificial reefs.
The Texas Artificial Reef Program is overseen by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. The program was created under the Artificial Reef Act of 1989, a piece of state legislation that directed Parks and Wildlife to develop and monitor the artificial reef potential in state and federal waters adjacent to Texas. Recently, 2 new reefing areas have been created to allow permit purchasers to construct beneficial reef systems.
The state program focuses on reefing 3 main types of materials: decommissioned drilling rigs in the Rigs-to-Reefs program, sources of concrete and heavy-gauge steel in the near-shore reefing program, and large marine vessels in the Ships-to-Reefs program.
7 artificial reef sites are found within state waters, which extend out to 9 nautical miles from the coast. An additional 66 reefs are found up to 100 miles off the coast. Of all the artificial reefs in the state program, more than 140 are decommissioned petroleum platforms.
To have an oil or a gas rig reefs, the operator must apply with the Department of the Interior and the Army Corps of Engineers. If approved, the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, or BSEE, makes sure the well is properly capped and the rig is clean before the operator can move the rig to a designated reefing area. Once the rig is reefed, there must be 85 feet of clearance for ship navigation, which limits the potential reefing of decommissioned rigs in the shallow waters where the majority of oil and gas structures are located.
Complete removal of a rig costs oil and gas operators up to $1 million. Donation of a platform to the Rigs-to-Reefs program is more cost efficient. Half of the money saved must be donated to the state's artificial reef program to help with long-term maintenance and monitoring.
Scientists with the Texas Artificial Reef Program monitor these reefs. They make note of all species residing around these structures, as well as determining the condition of the reef material and if it has moved from its original location. This is done to ensure that state funds are being correctly spent to enhance marine life around these reefs.
Scientific monitoring of these reefs has demonstrated their enhancement of diversity in the Gulf. These structures have created spawning sites for fish and broadcast spawners like coral. The reefed rigs allow for upwelling, which increases the amount of nutrients available to the marine plants that feed the food web. The artificial reefs also play a crucial role as essential fish habitat. Red snapper, the most important game fish in Texas Gulf waters, thrive around artificial reef sites.
Monitoring is also used to make sure artificial reefs are safe for the Gulf ecosystem. Though contamination of the Gulf by these structures has been a concern, There has been no difference of toxic contaminants near these structures compared to background levels in the Gulf of Mexico. Because these structures are used for aggregating fish, concerns have been raised about more efficient extraction occurring around these reefs. Thus far, this has not been proven the case.
Reefing these materials in the Gulf has allowed for the introduction of the lionfish, an invasive species and voracious consumer with no natural predators in this region. These reef materials have also facilitated an increase in substrate for harmful benthic algae like Gambia discus, the marine dinoflagellate responsible for Ciguatera fish poisoning.
Decommissioning oil and gas platforms by explosives can cause much fish mortality. Of particular concern is the killing of red snapper. However, the use of explosives to decommission an oil rig is more cost-efficient and safer for employees than the use of a torch.
It is important to note these fish kills would still occur if the petroleum platforms were removed completely from the Gulf. Now the removal rate of rigs far exceeds artificial reef installation in the Gulf.
They're taking our rigs. 26 miles is perfect here at that time of year. We got 100 plus visibility, a lot of fish. There's a rig called a double yellow, which has been removed. Apache, it's been removed. There are fine dive rigs.
The removal of rigs is in response to the Deepwater Horizon spill, as well as an effort to prevent hurricanes from toppling and damaging inactive platforms, since Hurricane Katrina destroyed 44 on her own.
The idle iron policy and the BP spill didn't help anything, and so while it's a shame, it's all about liability and money, and the oil companies have to bring them in.
Regardless, these reefed rigs are crucial to sustaining important fisheries like the red snapper and increasing overall biodiversity in the Gulf of Mexico. The habitats created by these reef structures are incredibly important to the economy of the Texas coast and the livelihoods of many Texans.